Look closely into the mirror. Today, it's just an ordinary piece of glass, a common, everyday object that we walk past without a second thought. But if you rewind time centuries ago, this simple reflection was a breathtaking luxury worth far more than a human life. In an era when seeing your own true face was considered pure, unadulterated magic, vast empires were willing to kill to protect this technological secret. Welcome to the dark and hidden history of mirrors. This is not just a simple story about polished glass. It is a sprawling, bloody tale of brutal monopolies, ruthless royal espionage, and deadly mercury poisoning that claimed the lives of countless craftsmen. Get ready to discover how a simple reflection shaped the economies of entire nations. For thousands of years, humanity lived in a world where no one truly knew what they looked like. Kings and peasants alike could only catch fleeting, blurry glimpses of themselves. They gazed into still pools of water, highly polished bronze plates, or dark volcanic obsidian stones crafted by ancient civilizations. These primitive tools offered nothing but a ghostly, distorted shadow of reality. A crystal-clear reflection was the ultimate dream, a mythical concept whispered about in legends. It wasn't until the Renaissance that this dream became a reality, and the only people on Earth who possessed the arcane knowledge to manifest this magic lived isolated on one tiny, heavily guarded island, an island that would soon become the most secretive place in Europe. That island was Murano, located deep within the Venetian lagoon. By the 16th century, the master glassblowers of Venice had perfected a revolutionary, yet highly toxic and dangerous manufacturing process. In the sweltering heat of their secret workshops, they meticulously coated perfectly flat sheets of glass with a delicate mixture of tin foil and heavy liquid mercury. The chemical reaction produced a mirror so beautiful, so flawlessly reflective, that it stunned anyone who looked into it. But this absolute perfection came with a devastating price. The mercury fumes were incredibly toxic. The mirrors were stunning works of art, but the hidden cost was the literal blood, lungs, and lifespans of the very artisans who created them. This extraordinary technological monopoly brought unbelievable, unprecedented wealth to the Venetian Republic, making it the undeniable luxury capital of the world. To protect this multi-million-dollar empire, the shadowy and feared government, known as the Venetian Council of Ten, passed a brutal and unforgiving law. The knowledge of mirror making was classified as a state secret of the highest order. Any glassmaker who attempted to leave the Republic or dared to share the secret formula with foreigners would be declared a traitor. The punishment was swift and absolute. Immediate assassination. There were no trials, no appeals, and no exceptions. Leaving the island of Murano meant a permanent target was placed firmly on your back. But no monopoly, no matter how fiercely guarded by assassins and laws, can last forever in the face of ultimate vanity and power. Enter King Louis XIV of France, the legendary Sun King. He was a monarch, utterly obsessed with absolute luxury, dominance, and displaying his immense wealth to the world. Louis XIV envisioned building the greatest, most spectacular palace on earth, the Palace of Versailles. And to complete his vision, he needed mirrors, not just a few, but hundreds of massive, flawless glass panels to line his grand halls. He wanted to capture the sunlight itself and trap it within his walls, demonstrating that even nature bowed to the majesty of the French throne. There was only one massive problem. At the height of the 17th century, a single flawless Venetian mirror could easily cost more than a masterpiece painting by a renowned artist. or even a small country estate. France was quite literally bleeding money, going bankrupt simply by purchasing imported glass to satisfy the king's insatiable desires. Realizing the financial disaster looming over the country, the king's shrewd minister of finance, Jean-Baptiste Colbert, made a radical decision. He launched what would become the most audacious, well-funded, and dangerous industrial espionage operation in recorded history. If France could not afford to buy the mirrors, they would simply have to steal the closely guarded secret of how to make them. Under the strict orders of Colbert, French spies, heavily funded by the royal crown, secretly infiltrated the dark, winding alleys of Venice. They operated in the shadows, navigating a city overflowing with informants. Armed with heavy bags of gold and promises of a lavish, protected life under the French king, they approached the most skilled artisans. The risk was monumental, but eventually they managed to bribe 3 master glassblowers. Under the cover of total darkness and thick lagoon fog, the masters and their terrified families were smuggled onto a waiting ship, sailing desperately toward France. They carried with them the recipes, the tools, and the knowledge that would change the course of European history forever. When the Venetian government discovered the terrible betrayal, their fury was absolute and cold-blooded. The monopoly they had ruthlessly protected for generations had been breached. The Council of Ten immediately dispatched their deadliest, most untraceable assassins to the streets of Paris with one clear, uncompromising mission: eliminate the traitors and halt the French production. Soon after, a string of mysterious and gruesome deaths followed. Several of the smuggled masters suddenly collapsed in the streets, dying in agony from highly sophisticated, untraceable poisoning. The message from Venice was clear and written in blood, but despite the lethal vengeance, the assassins were ultimately too late. The closely guarded secret was already out. Despite the wave of assassinations, France aggressively expanded its operations and rapidly began producing its own high-quality glass. This massive industrial effort culminated in the ultimate architectural flex, the legendary Hall of Mirrors in the Palace of Versailles, featuring an astonishing 357 flawless mirrors. The hall was designed to reflect the expansive gardens and the glowing sun. This room wasn't just built to be beautiful, it was a highly calculated political weapon. It screamed to every visiting ambassador and foreign dignitary that France had conquered the magic of Venice. It proved that French engineering and wealth were unmatched, officially shifting the balance of power and luxury in Europe forever. With France successfully mass-producing mirrors, the once mighty Venetian monopoly finally shattered into 1,000,000 pieces. Mirrors slowly began to become more affordable and widespread across the continent. However, creating them remained a grueling, horrific, and deadly profession due to the constant exposure to toxic mercury fumes. Glassmakers rarely survived past their early 30s, their bodies destroyed by heavy metal poisoning. It wasn't until the year 1835 that a brilliant German chemist named Justus von Liebig finally changed everything. He spent years in his laboratory searching for an alternative, determined to eliminate the lethal aspects of mirror manufacturing. His eventual breakthrough would revolutionize the entire global industry. Von Liebig invented a completely new, safe process. By utilizing a brilliant chemical reaction involving liquid silver nitrate, he managed to deposit a microscopic layer of pure silver directly onto the glass. This method eliminated the need for toxic mercury entirely. Suddenly, the manufacturing of mirrors became harmless to the working-class craftsmen, and the production costs plummeted. The magical, unattainable luxury that once belonged exclusively to bloodthirsty kings and wealthy aristocrats finally entered the homes of ordinary, everyday people. For the first time in human history, regular citizens could afford to hang a clear glass mirror in their bedrooms and see their own true faces every single morning. Today, mirrors are so ubiquitous and deeply integrated into our daily lives that they have essentially become invisible to us. We have them mounted in our modern bathrooms, seamlessly integrated into our cars, and even sitting quietly in our pockets as the dark, reflective screens of our digital devices. We stare into them constantly, completely unaware of the incredible journey it took to place them there. But the next time you pause to check your reflection, take a closer look. Remember the heavy price of that clarity. You are not just looking at yourself. You are staring into a profound legacy built by secretive spies, obsessed kings, and centuries of deadly forgotten secrets.